We're going to take you on a tour to some of the most remote and extreme locations on this planet we call home today. It might seem as though we've thrown you across the vastness of space in the past, but trust me, this is Earth, and she looks kind of crazy. So with that, here are 10 locations on Earth that look like other planets. Number 10. This remarkable location, which looks like it belongs on another planet, is situated approximately 37 miles south of the city of Aqaba in southern Jordan on the border with Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. It is a valley that has been sculpted over time from the local sandstone and granite rocks. The area is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, having been added to the list in 2011 and becoming more and more popular as a tourist destination. It spans a very large area of 280 square miles, making it the largest river valley in the nation of Jordan. This expansive valley is full of unusual and otherworldly natural features. The natural arches and steep red rock cliffs give the area a Star Trek-like appearance, and if you enjoy that kind of thing, you should definitely visit. Up close, the real treasure of Rum is revealed. The area appears to have been inhabited by civilization since prehistoric times, as evidenced by the numerous petroglyphs and inscriptions left in the rock surface, as well as a number of extremely old ruins. The location is thought to hold the key to the earliest stages of the development of the alphabet, as well as numerous inscriptions that depict the history and procedures. Number 9. The Fly Geyser, which is situated on the Fly Ranch in northern Nevada, is a 6-foot-tall, multicolored geyser that shoots boiling water 5 feet into the air. How thrilling! The geysers on this particular side of the Nevada desert were all created sort of by accident when people went out there in 1916 and started drilling wells for water. They soon realized that the water they could reach was too hot to use, so they did what most people do when something doesn't work perfectly the first time: they abandoned it. They tried again in 1964, and the same thing happened, creating yet another unintentional geyser. The calcium carbonate basically built up on the surface after all these wells were dug and left to their own devices, creating the strange, colorful structures that exist today. As an added bonus, the well's ability to spurt boiling water makes the entire foolish well-digging abandonment somewhat worthwhile in the end, at least for tourism. Number 8. The Spotted Lake, one of the world's most unusual-looking lakes, is situated in British Columbia, Canada. In the winter and spring, the lake appears to be just like any other lake, but in the summer, the entire area undergoes a strange and seemingly unique transformation as the water starts to evaporate in the early months, leaving behind hundreds of odd, otherworldly-looking salty pools. Green, yellow, and blue polka-dotted patterns are the result of the high concentration of minerals that evaporate with the water, creating the distinct colored pools. The mysterious appearance of this lake has been a sacred place for the indigenous people of the Anagan Nation, and the circles each have a different significance with healing and medicinal properties. The minerals include things like magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfate, and the colors vary depending on the concentration of minerals in each pool. Because this is culturally and environmentally significant territory, it is now a protected area and tourists aren't allowed to come too close. Nevertheless, you can view it from what I'm sure is a ton of beautiful drone footage. Number 7. When I imagine a path, it usually involves a road or a stream where people can stroll and slowly make their way. This is not the case with the Via Ferrata, though it does sound like a meaner version of a path given its iron content and location in the Italian Dolomites mountain range. Instead, it is typically a set of metal rungs of ladders in the rock face that are intended for climbers to attach their climbing gear and scale the mountain path. There are several of these iron paths, which are basically just a series of occasionally rusty metal hooks sticking out of the rock. These hikes are dangerous, with landslides and sudden changes in weather to be avoided. Unless your grandmother is an experienced climber, this is not a hike you should take her on. There are a few different ways to reach the Dolomite Towers, but none of them are easy. The iron path at Paso Santo leads climbers up epic rocky terrain, but the elevation gain is 1,410 feet. Otherwise, it's a slightly easier hike that takes about 3 hours and gains 2,746 feet in elevation. Number 6. Here's another one, the painted dunes of Lassen Volcanic Park in Old Station, California. This unusual scenery looks as though it's been painted onto a canvas. The rich patches of red and orange on the landscape invite many a photographer to snap away merrily. California is home to some of the most diverse and awesome landscapes out there, from the extraordinary redwood forests of the north to the crazy landscape of Death Valley. Because of the stunning dunes' colors, the pictures sometimes resemble watercolor paintings rather than actual locations. The underlying source of these vibrant displays isn't actually paint, rather, it's layers of oxidized volcanic ash. The 700-foot-tall cinder cone of the neighboring volcano is a sight to behold, but fear not, its last known eruption was in the 1650s. Number 5. Although the largest salt flat in the world may not seem like the most exciting location to see with your eyes, it has a feature that makes it stand out from the others. At nearly 12,000 feet above sea level in Bolivia's southwest, the Solar de Uyuni is one of the most remarkable views in South America, which is saying something considering what else is down there. It resembles a massive natural mirror. The salt flat was formed by the transformation of ancient lakes over many thousands of years, and the result is simply breathtaking. Numerous surrounding lakes overflow onto the flat during the rainy season, which is often between December and April for several months of the year. The thin layer of water that rests on top of the surface produces a kind of shallow lake. It's an incredible sight, for sure, but if you want to visit, remember to bring your sunglasses since the mix of the water on the salt surface creates the illusion of a massive mirror that reflects in the sky. Number 4. Although it is over 6,000 feet high, Mount Bromo is not the tallest volcano in the area, but it is the most famous and certainly the most visited. It is one of the most highly anticipated stops on any tourist trail through East Java, where people enjoy the thrill of hanging out at an active volcano you know. Mount Bromo is an active volcano in Indonesia. What makes this one so spectacular is its almost permanent smoking appearance. Additionally, the volcano's location in the middle of the sea of sand adds to its otherworldly mystique and makes for incredible photos. Take into account the epic drone shots of the Smoky Mountain as well. However, it should be noted that this is an active volcano that erupts frequently, so if you're a thrill-seeking volcano hiker and you've just booked your flight to East Java for a stop at Bromo, you can't say I didn't warn you. Number 3. Lake Natron, located in northern Tanzania, has a haunting appearance, but is it truly as dangerous as it seems? This rare high-pine lake is highly alkaline, highly concentrated, and basically full of toxic liquid. In fact, everything in the lake is poisonous to almost everything, with the exception of flamingos, but you know how those birds can't really be trusted. The cyanobacteria that give the water its red hue are responsible for its color. These bacteria can produce a range of colors based on the various substances in their surroundings, but in Lake Niagara, they produce a red tint. Even though the lake is often detrimental to wildlife, it nevertheless draws them to its surface, where birds in particular are vulnerable to its dangers. The truth is that if you do follow into this lake, it will probably kill you and then start mummifying your dead body so you know it. Waters drawn to the mirrored surface dive into the red water, but will almost instantly drown in the toxic soup. Their insides and outsides calcifying in the nasty stuff all around the outside of the lake. There are mummified remains of the poor creatures that it has claimed. In fact, the stuff in the lake, sodium carbonate and bicarbonate, were used by the ancient Egyptians in the mummification process. Number 2. The Watto Caves, located in the North Island of New Zealand, are a highly sought-after tourist destination. It is understandable why these remarkable underground caverns are home to millions of glowworms, making a visit here unlike anything you've ever experienced. The Watto Caves were discovered in 1887 and consist of a series of impressive rock formations and grottos full of glowworms. The caves were formed from limestone, which over 30 million years ago began to grow stalactite and stalagmite formations, gradually creating hundreds of caves. There are about 10 of these caves that can be visited today. Despite the obvious and inspiring feeling of being in such impressive and unusual underground rock formations, what really makes this place unique are the creatures that inhabit it. Glowworms, it turns out, are not actually worms at all, but rather a type of gnat. They use the glow they emit to attract insects to the long trails of sticky material that they suspend from the ceiling, where they catch their dinner. They also use their bioluminescence to attract a mate, so while it's nice to think that these bugs are lighting the way through the caverns for your visual enjoyment. Number 1. Dead Marsh, which is a fairly accurate description of this desiccated and dark environment, is the name given to this strange-looking area in Namibia. The parched earth in Dead Bay contains no moisture to sustain living things, so all the trees that were once there have been reduced to blackened skeletons. The surrounding sand dunes came into the area and obstructed the river when the area had a drought and the temperature changed. The remaining landscape was produced when the flooded river would form the clay pan, creating temporary ponds that allowed the trees to thrive. The tree's demise from a lack of water to support light life is thought to have occurred between 600 to 700 years ago. The tree's remains are blackened and scorched from centuries of exposure to intense sunlight. The landscape that remains in this hostile environment has been used as a setting in bizarre and terrifying movies like The Cell and The Fall. Well, that's all the otherworldly places we will visit for today. Which one of these would you like to visit and see for yourself? Feel free to talk about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.